Welcome students, myself Mudish Sharma from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Assistant Professor. This is the new semester to all of you in Mechanical Engineering Department. In this third semester, I am going to teach you the subject Production Technology, which code is ETM 205. I hope you already know about this subject because you already studied manufacturing process in first semester. So this is the familiar subject to you. So now I am going to start your unit 1 from first topic casting. Okay. So first of all, what is casting? Casting is a process in which a cast is formed from a molten metal in a sand mold. It can be used to produce a range of size from a fraction of an ounce to hundred of tons. Casting means pouring the molten metal into a refractory mold with a cavity of the shape to be made and allowing it solidify. The solidified object is called casting. Application of casting are we can use for making cylinder blocks like pistons, piston rings, wheel, housings, etc. Most of the automobile parts we can manufacture by the casting process. So now I am going to start this introductory section. This is our topic which is covered in this video. Yes, you can see in this PPT what is sand casting. Sand casting is a process in which a cast is formed from a molten metal in a sand mold. You can see in the figure the various portion of casting like this. These are casting process and at which place this casting is occur, that is called foundry. These are the product which is made by the casting like household, kitchen and gardening equipment, in electrical motors and generator pumps, in transport, automobile, aerospace, etc. Like now, what are the common merit or demerit of casting? Casting is capable of large surges. It capable holding a tail, useful for metals with low ductility, most economical type, minimal best. You can say molten metal can flow in a small section. It is possible to cast almost any material, ferrous or non-ferrous. This is also another advantage of casting. And if I am going to discuss disadvantages of casting or demerit of casting, like poor surface finish, dimensional inaccuracy, defect arising out, the moisture present in casting, etc. These are the common merit or demerit of the casting. This and this. Now, what is metal casting? You can say metal casting converting a molten or plastic raw material into a finished product. What are the common steps we use in metal casting? Firstly, we prepare the mold, then preparing the molten metal, then we introduce this molten metal by the help of a sprue, and solidify the molten metal, and after the solidification we remove the cast part from the mold. So in different section of the PPT I will discuss each of term related to casting. These are the some common applications which I already discussed with you. These are the common. Now I am going to discuss this diagram. In this diagram you can see these are the some terms: pouring cup from the molten metal is pour, riser at which molten metal is flow. When casting is fulfilled by the molten metal, then it will indicate us. This is the cast metal. You can see cast metal. This is core. Upper part, this is the molding class, which upper part is called cope and lower part is called drag, and between part is called intermediate part is called cheek, and where those both part is separated, that is called parting line. So you can understand in another section of the video. Now this is the systematic diagram of the casting. Cope, there is a molding flask, whereas upper part is called cope and lower part is called drag. Okay, but in mold cavity at which the molten metal is poor. Okay, flask, mold, molding flask, parting line I already discussed with you. What is pouring basin at which molten metal is poured by the help of ladle. Vent is used for empty. Vent is used small opening in the mold which facilitate escape of air and gases, etc. Now these are the casting terminology. I can discuss you with the systematic diagram one by one. Now first one is flask. What is flask? Flask is a metal. Flask is a metal or wood frame without fixed top or bottom in which the mold is formed. Drag is the lower molding flask. Then cope is upper molding flask. There is no cheek but cheek. Cheek is the intermediate of molding flask. What is pattern? Pattern is the replica of the final object to be made. What is parting line? Parting line is dividing line between the two molding flasks that make up the mold. What is pouring basin? It is a small funnel shaped cavity at the top of the mold into which the molten metal is poured. And next one is a runner. This is runner, the channel through which the molten metal is carried out from the sprue to the gate. Okay, and what is core? Core is a separate part of the mold made of sand and generally baked, which is used to create opening and various shaped cavities in the casting. Okay, so I hope I clear each and everything which is related to the casting terminology. Now you can see, you can read from this PPT, okay, what are the common terms we use in casting. Each and every point I already discussed. Now chaplets are used to support the cores inside the mold cavity to take care its own weight when the small opening. So you can see in this picture how chaplet we use, how core we use, where the riser placed, where the parting line, etc.
Process. Casting is a process which involves pouring of hot molten metal into a mold cavity and then allowing it to solidify to obtain the casting product. To understand the casting process, let us make this material through casting. First, place a wooden board on the table, and then place a wooden flask on the board. Now at the center of the flask, place a wooden workpiece. Note that this workpiece is called the pattern, and it is the replica of the product to be produced. Now sprinkle some parting sand in and around the pattern. Then place a hand riddle on top of the flask. Now put some sand in this riddle and then filter the sand. Note that the filtered sand is called the facing sand. Now remove the riddle and put some more sand in the flask till it gets filled completely. Note that the sand which we had put after removing the riddle is called the backing sand. Now take a hand rammer and ram the sand so that the sand inside the flask gets compressed and compact. Then use a strike-off bar to level the sand equally. Note that this flask which contains the sand and pattern is called the mold. Now turn this flask and place another wooden flask over the previous flask. Then place another similar pattern over the first pattern. And repeat the same procedure, that is, sprinkle the parting sand. Then place a hand riddle and put some sand and filter it. Then remove the riddle and put some backing sand. And then ram the sand with the hand hammer and level the sand equally. Note that now this upper flask is called the cope and the lower flask is called the drag. Now place the cope and drag aside. Then lift the cope and place it upside down. Now in this cope, make a tapered hole with the sprue cutter and a straight hole with the plain cylindrical rod. Note that the tapered hole is called the sprue and the straight hole is called the riser. Then use the draw spike to pick the pattern out of the sand from the drag and cope. The shape left in the mold is called the cavity. Then make a passage between these holes and cavity with the help of a spoon slick. Note that the passage which connects the sprue and cavity is called the runner and is used to guide the molten metal flow into the cavity. Now in this cavity insert a vent wire to make a hole in order to release the hot unused gases. Now inside the cavity of the drag, place a cylindrical object made of clay. Note that this object is called the core and is used to produce the hollow work pieces. Then place the cope again on top of the drag. As we can see that this tapered hole is too narrow for the proper flow of molten metal. So make a larger basin beside the tapered hole and connect them through a passage. Note that this larger basin is called the pouring basin. Now with the help of the hand ladle, keep pouring the molten metal in the pouring basin till the molten metal reaches the edge of the riser. Now allow the molten metal to solidify in the mold. Now take the material out of the mold. We get the product as. This product is called casting product. Some of the common products which we obtain through the casting are wheel, piston, bells, etc. Related terms are